Hi, my name is Kendra Park. I'm a senior at Bloomsburg University, and I'm a dual major in mass communications and political science. Today, I'll be addressing the topic of the U.S.-China trade war. Lately, it has been hard to ignore the developments on the U.S.-China trade war. America and China are currently the largest two economies in the world, meaning any change to the way they do business with each other will greatly affect millions of people. The issue has been covered extensively in the news lately, but it has actually been in the works since the beginning of the presidency. The public, however, did not take much notice until it directly affected their everyday lives, not solely industries. The war began with tariffs being placed on steel and aluminum as national security threats in April 2017. The administration instructed Commerce Secretary Wilbur Ross to self-initiate two investigations into whether steel and aluminum imports threaten U.S. national security under Section 232 of the Trade Expansion Act of 1962. The next tariffs imposed went towards solar panels and washing machine parts back in October and November of 2017. In February 2018, China's retaliation to these tariffs, not that it can be directly linked, however, the timing is too coincidental, was to start an investigation on $1 billion of U.S. exports of sorghum. The Department of Commerce also released the results of the National Security Report, stating that imports of steel and aluminum products do in fact threaten U.S. national security. Another round of tariffs began with U.S. Trade Representative Robert E. Litzer self-initiating an investigation of China under Section 301 of the Trade Act of 1974. In March, the administration released a report finding that China was conducting unfair trade practices related to technology transfer, intellectual property, and innovation. The U.S. Trade Representative also released a revised list of products on which it planned to impose tariffs in two phases starting on July 6th. In April, China officially imposed preliminary tariffs on U.S. sorghum. These tariffs did come to an end, however, in May after negotiations. China then retaliated against the U.S. tariffs with tariffs on aluminum waste and scrap, pork, fruits, nuts, and other U.S. products. As a result of foreign-imposed tariffs, it was announced that American farmers would be subsidized for up to $12 billion for their lost export sales, which was done using a law that supported farmers during the Great Depression. A total of $27 billion of American agriculture exports were affected, like soybeans, corn, nuts, fruit, and beef. The administration also released its $50 billion list of 1,333 Chinese products under consideration for tariffs. China then threatened retaliation on autos, aircraft, and agriculture. In June, China issued an updated $50 billion retaliation list of tariffs. China also planned a two-phase approach for its tariff list, covering $34 billion of U.S. goods starting July 6th. The remaining $16 billion of products would be covered later on. On June 18th, in response to China's retaliatory tariffs, the U.S. Trade Representative was directed to identify an additional $200 billion worth of Chinese goods for tariffs. In July, the U.S. and China imposed the first phase of the June 15th tariffs. The U.S. Trade Representative also released a list of $200 billion of imports from China to be subjected to new tariffs. The U.S. administration also announced once again that it would subsidize American farmers for up to $12 billion for their lost export sales. In August, China threatened to add duties of 5 to 25% on $60 billion of U.S. goods, following threats to raise proposed tariff rates on $200 billion of Chinese goods. The U.S. and China then each imposed their second phase of the $50 billion tariffs. The last phase of tariffs went into effect on September 24th, including tariffs on $200 billion of Chinese imports, along with retaliatory tariffs by China on $60 billion of U.S. imports. Okay, so what should the administration do? Examining how the U.S.-China trade war has progressed, it is easy to see that neither side is willing or ready to back down. Both countries, as it seems, are ready for this fight. Honestly, I do not see an end to it anytime soon. As the president, you must remain firm on your position and not budge. The goal of the trade war is to help make America great again. Tariffs are not the only part of the solution, though. As the president, you also know that China has grown exponentially over the years, at a very rapid rate. Their economy is the best it has ever been, and the landscape has physically changed along with it. This change has a lot to do with China increasingly becoming more technologically savvy. This is because they have been borrowing American technology and knowledge. You have addressed this before, but I feel that most citizens do not realize this fact. By preventing China from gaining more of our technology, it will benefit America greatly. China has already taken millions of jobs from the U.S., and if it takes more tariffs and more interference in general to fix things, then I see that there is no problem with them being imposed or regulated. America's economy is doing great and unemployment is at an all-time low, so what you are doing so far seems to be creating a major impact already. Hopefully, by standing your ground and not backing down against China, the American people and the United States itself will be in a better position in the future. Sometimes you have to weather through the storm in order to see the rainbow at the end. If the American public can be patient and have faith in the administration, I believe that better things will come and the U.S. will be put in a much better position than it currently is in. Fighting this trade war against China in the end seems like a large game of chicken, and the world is just waiting to see who will back down first. I know that America will get what it deserves and will come out on top. If China is not willing to cooperate with the U.S., then America will have to show China that we are not willing to compromise.